something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, good evening, beautiful people. How are you? I hope you're very refreshed after a relaxed weekend. And if you weren't lucky enough to have a weekend off, then I hope you didn't work too hard and managed to make $1 without sweating too badly. It's been a bit wet in our part of the world. When I say a bit wet, I mean bloody wet. Bloody wet. When I say bloody wet, I mean we've had multiple inches of rain in the last few days, and certainly created a little more havoc on our roads than we were hoping for, which was not really good considering we've had a grader over the roads. But more to come on that little drama. I might even get a camera out and show you all. That could be fun. No, I'm not going to be allowed to drive the grader, I don't think. Aussie Sue first in the room. How are you, darling? I hope you had a great one. Thank you so much to always say this. And please, folks, if you're watching right now, remember to like and subscribe to the channels that you're watching now, if you possibly can. And leave a comment, whether it be now in the chat or later on. Love to know where you're watching from. Going to be hitting the road shortly, so the more towns, the more places we have to know where we've got a few friends in common, the better. We might just roll in through your town for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and see what happens. So love to know where you are. So please leave a comment. Tell me where you are. That'll make life much easier. Hello, Lisa. You are only a 15th away from being first in tonight. DM2. G'day, Scotty. Andrew Smith. Paul's in. And, the Sabinator appears in a big puff of smoke and does so with great aplomb, can I add? G'day to Brett. Hope you're doing all right. Wayno. Hope you're doing all right. Mate, it's got to be warm around your part of the world at the moment, so I imagine you've got a bit of a sweat and possibly some chafing knowing the size of your legs in certain places. So I hope you're all good. As Darren says, he will see you soon. He's sitting backstage, likes to scare me and come in late. G'day, Shaz. Hope you're doing all right. Dazza in the house. So I'm starting to get a little bit confused between Shazza and Dazza, but we'll just keep playing it. That's the way it works. Who else have we got? There's a few other names in there I think I've actually skipped over. But look, hello, you know who you are. G'day, Baz. G'day, Debs. Dusty's in the house. Might be heading down through your way shortly, Dusty. Look forward to catching up because I managed to screw up the time you were on the Gold Coast. So do apologise. Speaking of screwing things up, I don't know what to call him. Neville, I apologise. We were meant to have lunch yesterday, and for a very large variety of very poor reasons, it didn't come off. And I will ring you, and we will set that up again, my friend. I'll come to you this time. I'm sorry that you drove. What was it, an hour and a half or something, and I never fronted. I do apologise. So it was a bit of a miscommunication, and I had some issues yesterday, as it turned out anyway. So bit of a bummer, but we will make that up to you, and I'll come up your way, and we'll catch up. So easy done. Arthur Dunga. Geez, there's a name I haven't heard in a while. Those of you who don't know it may have to look it up. G'day, Rainey. G'day, Zippy. Hope all is good in your part of the world. The lovely Michelle Bradley Smith is in the house too. So I think that's all our mods rolling around tonight. Beautiful Sunflower is in. I hope you and Rick and the grandbabies and family had a great weekend. And life moves on as it should. Well, if you were sitting down on the weekend and you happen to be one of those people who picks up a mainstream media newspaper, or you will go online and have a look potentially at their online offerings, you might have discovered on Friday and then again though not directly at him on Saturday, an article that, in my opinion, makes some very, very broad statements about our very good friend of the show and a man I deeply respect and admire for his enthusiasm to get this country going again and on the right track. Darren Bergwerf, good evening. How are you, mate?
Good evening, Carl. How you going? It seems like it was only yesterday that I was on here, but
it does.
Back
it
again.
Does. So, a mainstream media star yet again. Of course, the ABC made a star of you not all that long ago, and now, of course, the Courier Mail has decided to just, I don't know, assassinate you, I think. Character assassinate you would be the best way of describing it, I think. Thank you to our friends from far north Queensland who have been helping out with the information on all of this. They're the ones ostensibly who are fighting an action against fluoride being introduced across Queensland through local councils. And you might remember back in 2012, Campbell Newman rescinded a Labor Party legislation that every town and city was going to be fluoridated, and then made it a choice for local councils. 72 of our 90-something odd councils opted out of receiving fluoride. It's now become an issue in Cooktown and parts in far north Queensland, and in part, that's what this article is about. It brands you, though, as, well, all sorts of evil. Tell me about it.
Oh, look, I'm getting used to it, but we're at the point now. I've let so many of these articles slide in the past because we're just too busy to be concerned about it. But I think it's about time we changed it up a little bit because we're all hammering the courts, we're hammering the councils, we're hammering all of these organisations, and the media are kind of getting away scot-free at the moment. So there's a lot of total lies. It is slander. It's defamation, and I've already spoken to some people about this. But if there are any good lawyers out there that have jumped the fence and realised that their time is very much borrowed, we'll be looking to potentially have a look at what action we can take to remedy the situation, and or take further action than that, because. It's very well for these people to keep saying we're anti this and we're anti that, but I'm not anti anything. At the end of the day, I'm pro-choice, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-health, I'm pro-equity, and pro-common sense, and I'm pro-truth. And that's all I am. And I guess that last one, or the last two, the common sense and the truth part of it, is what riles the mainstream media. And they try and discredit anybody that wants to speak the truth, as we've found out over the last 3 or 4 years. So it's time that I think we started to hold these people to account for their false reporting. And I've just actually got the ACCC Media Code of Conduct on my desk at the moment. So we're looking at what we can do about this to put a stop to it. And so at this stage, no concrete decisions where I'm going, but certainly I'm not going to keep letting these character assassinations, continue.
You might want to look deeply into that ACCC Code of Conduct thing, because it might be a voluntary code of conduct, in which case they can pick and choose what sort of conduct they voluntarily apply. But we'll speak more on that later down the track. Is there anything in particular you deny?
Pretty much all of it. I've never, ever denied the Holocaust. That wasn't what was spoken in that interview, and the interview is available that anyone wants to look at it. I like everything else that we've learned over the last 5 years. We've been lied to about everything. So I have no clue. I've never done any research on what happened back then. I just said I don't know what happened. I'd never denied it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. As far as I'm aware, I've had every vaccination that I was supposed to have as a child. But once again, what's the definition of a vaccination? And from all accounts that I've seen over the last few years, the COVID mRNA so-called vaccine doesn't do anything that a vaccine's supposed to do. So it can't even be called a vaccine. And there's plenty of leading doctors and scientists and all kinds of different ologists around the world that are saying that it's not a vaccine.
Yeah. There are many very learned people who've done many years of university training and real-world life experience who would fly in the face of the supposed settled science on all of these things. Are you surprised that My Place has been dragged into this? I know the My Place crew in far north Queensland, well, in fact, right across Queensland, are very active in this.
100%. No, I'm not surprised at all. And in fact, I'm as proud as punch that people that are part of My Place communities are taking it, taking this fight up and doing what they believe they need to do in their community. So I think it's fantastic that they're doing this, and I think we've got over 50 My Place communities now in Queensland. And from speaking to Luke Hart at My Place Gold Coast a bit earlier today, he said that he thinks there's 77 local councils, corporate councils in Queensland now. So it won't be long, and we're going to outpace. We'll have more My Place groups than we have local councils. So I'm not surprised, and I think it's a fantastic effort by all the Queensland My Place communities. They're having such an impact, and I know quite a few of them got onto local councils as well. So I don't know whether you guys can still hear me or not, but Carl's frozen out for me, and I've just taken over the whole screen. So I'll keep talking until Carl comes back in. I'm probably going to struggle with that. But the other thing that I didn't mention before that's in this article and it's been in several other articles is the bullshit sovereign citizen tag. And once again, these Muppets don't do any research. They've got no idea what they're talking about. If they did some research and actually did the etymology of the word sovereign and the etymology of the word citizen, they'd realise that it's an oxymoron, and only a moron would continue to label people as sovereign citizens. So that was the one that you just dropped out, Carl. So I just kept yapping on, mate.
No, please feel free. And yeah, I had a bit of a power failure, so everything died. Everything's turned off. It's all had to be rebooted and come back to life again. So running on Steam Possum at the moment. It's out there running around in the Wheel of Joy, and hopefully we'll be able to keep going for a little bit longer. I just came back in on the back end of what you were saying there, so I won't try and elaborate further because you've probably talked about most of it. But going forward, then, what we really need to find is someone friendly to the cause who will at least look at what has been said and spoken about you publicly by these mainstream media organisations. And maybe these people need to be sent a very formal letter asking for evidence of the claims that they make against you. They're very serious claims, according to them. Holocaust denying is not something that is new to the world. I mean, anybody who's been doing it has been banned from. I can remember David Icke, I think, was banned from coming to Australia because he was a Holocaust denier. There are many others that they've used that and slandered people with that term. And yet these days there is a great deal of evidence about atrocities that happened at the end of the Second World War that weren't participated in by any Germans other than them being lined up and shot. And it wasn't by Jews or Nazis. So there is a lot of evidence. Let's have a conversation about what we can prove with evidence. And sometimes we need to look a little bit deeper than the history books, because the old saying goes, history is written by the victor. And as is always the case, Darren, I'm sure you're looking forward to writing a very nice book in the future about all of this.
We had that discussion the other day, actually. At the start of every year, I buy a diary with the full intention of, filling out a daily diary and what my activities are, and the 3.5 hour phone calls here and the 2 hour phone calls there. And Yeah, I wish I had over the last 4 years, because it's been a journey and a half. I can give you the mail, but I haven't really. And look, I'm not interested in telling my story. I'd be quite happy to just disappear once we get the get the job done. I have no interest in being anyone's politician or leader or anything of the like. I do have maybe a passion to help facilitate the changeover and the rebuilding and the new knowledge that people are going to be seeking and going to need. And most of us are in that position over the last 4 or 5 years that we're going to be at the forefront of passing on the knowledge that we've learned and get people up to speed. And I'll be just as happy doing that and let someone else kind of move in and run the country and do the political stuff, because I have no interest in doing that. I just want to get the job done. I want to bring these bastards to account and start continue to fight the good fight, I guess, until such time as we're done.
To that end, there is a rally being held in Canberra coming up, the Treason Trials. This is the flyer. I believe there'll be another one put out tomorrow with 1 or 2 little changes. But this is the current flyer for it, February 8th. Now, I can't tell you enough about the wonderful folks that are helping put all this together. The corruption whistleblower is well involved with all of this. And if you aren't familiar with the corruption whistleblower yet, then please spend the $5 and go and get yourself a copy. If you are lucky enough to find someone that still has a first edition copy of this, the corruption whistleblower's first edition was spectacular. Every page, back and front, could have been cut up and put around, and should be put around the school rooms in every school in Australia, so that children are given a complete understanding of how the Australian Constitution and our parliamentary system is meant to work, and how badly out of whack with reality that it currently is. It's going to be a great event if you can get to it. They're calling for as many people as possible to get to Canberra February 8th. And I know that, Darren, you can't. You've got other things happening at that stage. But this is where they will speak about indicting people for crimes against the country and for crimes against the people here in Australia, with a follow-up treason trial a month later. Now, where do you stand with all of that?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great, and I think we discussed this last week. I really hope that as many people and new people make the effort to get to Canberra, not just the old, the same old people doing the same thing. We need new people to have the same passion that we had back in 2022 when we're up there in February 5 and 12. So yeah, I think it's great. We've got a presentation at the Gold Coast on the 11th, and trying to get one up in Gympie on the 12th or 13th with our Place Australia kind of presentation, myself and Marcel. Yep. At this stage. If we can get the Gympie one, then I'll be going up to do both with Marcel. If not 100% sure yet. But yeah, certainly the first part of the next 3 weeks, I've got some paperwork that has been trying to be served on me for the last month from the Supreme Court, or from the lawyers of the Commonwealth Bank. They've got a writ apparently against me, and they're trying to catch up with me to serve those documents. So I'm going to have the fight of my life on my hands again. The council one's kind of put to bed, but I've got a new one now, and and there's another one actually coming up from the State Revenue Office that I've just found some paperwork on the other day as well. So which is the land tax, which once again it's another corporation that is not a government department. It's a private enterprise, and this is I don't know. There's going to be some pain, I think, for a lot of people, but we've got to keep pushing back against this, because it's all part of it. And in the Crimes Act and other different the Crimes Act, and also the there's another one as well, 1995. But it's once you're aware of a crime, and if you continue to take part in that crime, so you kind of we're situation I'm in at the moment. I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. If I take the moral high ground and even the legal and lawful high ground of not continuing to take part in organised crime and racketeering and enslavement by funding these corporations, then you're at risk of losing your house and everything you've worked for all your life, and that's basically where I'm sitting at the moment. So that's going to be a very challenging next couple of months as I move deeper into that scenario.
I know you've got somewhere else to be and a big meeting to be part of, so I won't hold you up. Just know that we're all behind you here, and whatever we can do to help support you in your fight against the mainstream media lies and bullshit and slander, smear, defamation, in fact, against you, then happy to help in any way, shape or form. And folks, if you are in Queensland or if you are in a shire around Australia, I saw one of the chats earlier, one of the questions in one of the chats earlier about how many councils around Australia. Isn't all of Australia fluoridated? The answer is no. There are still, I think it's about 90% of the country is fluoridated. That still leaves a lot of local councils who are refusing it, and they refuse it on scientific grounds. There is very good reason for this refusal. The fact that the uptake has been so high in councils is for corruption and ignorance. They believe the story that, yes, it's still good for your teeth. In fact, that probably was the story when fluoride was introduced in Melbourne back when you and I were kids, mate. But
well, I remember Mrs. Marsh and a bit of chalk saying how it does get in.
Yeah. So,
but apparently there's nearly half the councils in Queensland. I think Luke said there's 77 or 78 councils in Queensland, and
91, and 72 of them said no.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I reckon Victoria, I don't know of any councils that don't have fluoride in the water. And, that's why it's a credit to Queenslanders and the other group, and I can't think what they're called now, the anti-fluoride or no fluoride group, and My Place people up in Queensland do an amazing job. And, onwards and upwards, we've got to bring more of the local communities into My Place and help us, join this. We've got a really good platform where we can get leverage. Obviously, we're getting mainstream attention. Not always good, but that's okay. The fact is that when I got blasted on the ABC and back in 2022 or 2023, we had a massive uptick in people joining My Place at that point. So. And this is our place. Our place is obviously going to be in the private, but people need to take pride and ownership back in their country. It's yours.
Yep.
And, it's exactly what we're doing in the My Place communities, and other people are doing it as well. But, we need to get that message out to the general public as they wake up and get them on board. Come and join us. We are a force to be reckoned with when we all come together and we push back. So.
Mate, and not just push back. It's not just pushing back on these and other big articles. It's the fellowship and the unity that you get from knowing that there are other like-minded people like you in your community, and that there is a place where you can come together, you can discuss your thoughts, words, and feelings on what's going on, and you can come up with ideas, ways, solutions, paths forward. And that's what My Places are doing all over Australia today. And the Unity Hub is a wonderful initiative for people to get behind. You join the Unity Hub for less than a cup of coffee a week, I think it is, isn't it? And
$5. No, a month, mate.
Right.
$5 a month, and for your own private social media platform where there's no shadow banning, there's no stopping people posting whatever they want to post. That's starting to grow now. We're launching on the 25th publicly. We haven't launched publicly yet. But, it's just another way that we can link up and not be scrutinised by, Facebook and the rest and get shadow banned and, banned for weeks on end because we post something that isn't in alignment with their, hard left agenda.
Yeah. And for folks who watch this show and see it disappear off their screens periodically because I've said something that U-Turd doesn't agree with. We stream every show into the Facebook Unity Hub, so you'll always have access to it there, as long as I remember to hit the button for it, and Vince remembers to turn me on. It'd be all good. So it's a great source of information on everything. And if you are going around in your caravan or your motorhome or your tent and you want to catch up with like-minded people in strange parts of the country you've never been to before, then the Unity Hub is the ideal way to sit down and make contacts and friends in those places and plan your journey so that you can be part of other My Place or Our Place events happening around the country. So I can't recommend it to you highly enough.
Too right, and thanks to Rhonda up in Cooktown, and for making me aware of this. She sent it to you, she sent it to me, and yes, it doesn't matter where you go in Australia, whether it's Darwin, Mount Isa, Cooktown, all the way down through Townsville and Cairns. We do have My Place communities everywhere, and they're like-minded and they're going to be very friendly. So if you are in traveling, like Carl said, jump on and go and meet the local My Place crew wherever you go. And I'll just say one last thing, Carl. I actually love the Bill Gates picture you had up at the start of the show. How he named Microsoft. I thought that was a classic.
You've got him in Melbourne at the moment, I believe. He's been seen at the Australian Open. Yeah, he's been seen at the Australian Open. So, okay. And listen, before you go, I'm not sure whether or not you're interested in hearing it or not, but there is a reply to the Courier Mail article that has been sent into them from the Cookshire Ratepayers and Residents Association. They wish to. Do you want me to read it?
Oh, yeah. Read it out, mate. That'd be great.
Okay. So from the Cookshire Ratepayers and Residents Association, they wish to raise some concerns over your recent fluoride reporting. This, of course, directed to the Courier Mail. We always understood professional journalists reported fairly on both sides of any issue. The Cookshire, etc., is a broad church of people in our shire representing many views. Your publications appear to think that it's okay to lump everyone as conspiracy theorists, opposed to vaccines, 5G towers, and label as sovereign citizens and Holocaust deniers. It's simply incorrect. We believe we have the right to express our opinion on fluoride to our elected councillors, given they decide. We are not bullies and we do not use invalid or non-existent sources. CSRRA has a platform that fluoride be removed from our water supply. We oppose all mass medication denying choice and informed consent. We base this on the adverse effects of fluoridation, with some consistent concerns around pregnancy implications, thyroid, and neurocognitive. We also look at current science and research. We don't play the person or character assassinate. We look at the issue. All our research is peer-reviewed from the US National Library of Medical Research Center, or Medicine Research Center, for biotechnology information. There is evidence showing fluoride strengthens teeth, making them more resistant to decay. However, there are widely available alternative sources of fluoride for dental health, and there is now also increasing evidence outside of Australia, in particular from worldwide studies and US research, which indicate a neuropsychiatric risk of fluoride exposure is now unacceptable. Now, she's listed here a number of credible organisations by way of a small sample of the evidence on offer, and then says, please look at the Queensland Human Rights Act, 2009, Section 58, Conduct of Public Entities. 1, it is unlawful for a public entity to act or make a decision in a way that is not compatible with human rights, or B, in making a decision to fail to give proper consideration to a human right relevant to that decision. And the Queensland Human Rights Act, Section 17, a person must not be subjected to medical or scientific experimentation or treatment without the person's full, free and informed consent. What gives doctors the right to deny human rights and the right to informed consent? Doctors need to get informed consent for any intervention. Can you find a doctor who will provide their full name, date of birth and Queensland Health ID, and also state that there are no risks to people's health by adding and or continuing to add fluoride to reticulated town water supplies? B, it is completely safe to do so, and C, will they sign off to take full liability for all adverse health effects? We look forward to seeing unbiased, fair reporting, which gives the other side of the debate. Regards, Tony Lee, the Cookshire Ratepayers and Residents Association spokesperson. So that has been sent to the editor of the Courier Mail, and I believe the author of that piece, who I think was the editor. Certainly the piece on Saturday, the editor's piece, and well, your article seems to be a mismatch of three people. So I think much consideration needs to be given going forward. And Peter Pham is a fella I'm reaching out to at the moment from Mates Lawyers. Now, Peter's a great guy, so I'm sure once I can get him on the phone and get you hooked up, you'll hopefully be able to get a bit of advice there from him that might help you going forward. So good luck with that. And
yeah, that'd be awesome, mate. It just shows they do absolutely zero research, and media, they still have a responsibility to the public, not to be just pushing a narrative or a one-sided. And Rhonda sent me a few other articles that didn't involve me, and I read those, and there seems to be only supporting evidence, that fluoride's good. There was no counter argument, so it is a biased, one-sided narrative that this newspaper is pushing, and that's not that's breach of contract as far as I'm concerned, because they have a duty to the public, they have a duty of care to provide both sides of the argument, like you said, and if they're going to continue and there's a pattern of this behaviour, then these people should not be allowed to have a license to print or have media licenses in any description.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
And also that fluoride is a class 6 poison that's not acceptable for landfill, yet they're putting it in our drinking water.
Yeah. Or because a dentist you don't know, somebody in a white coat somewhere, says it's good for teeth. And the fact of the matter is that the fluoride they put in our water supplies in the 70s, which may well have been very good for our teeth back in the 70s, is nothing like the fluoride they're putting in our water today.
Oh, safe and effective. I've heard that before. I think the formaldehyde was safe and effective, and the COVID vaccines was safe and effective. And who can trust these muppets that are obviously paid to deceive people and tell them lies? And there's so much evidence that going back in history that enough's enough. You cannot believe any of these scientists or their credibility in anything that they tell you, and people need to do their own research, like we always say. And to me, we're all about getting healthier and getting these poisons out of our system and out of our water and our foods is the number one priority for us.
Absolutely. All right, mate. I'll let you go. I know you've got another meeting you've got to be at. So thanks for giving.
Good on you, Carl. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one. Darren Bergwerf, My Place Australia, Our Place Australia as well. And if you happen to be in the Gold Coast or Gympie, pardon me, look out for those events. I'll be back for the I'll be back. I'll be going to the Gold Coast event, certainly on the 11th. And if the boys need a ride up and back to Gympie, I might be able to help them out with that too. For the Gympie event, which hopefully will be the 13th, I think he said. So we'll keep an eye out. And if you are in either of those areas and you are remotely interested in learning about the PMA that Marcel and Darren and others have been working on now for some long time, very worthwhile coming along and having a look at that presentation. I've only seen a small portion of that presentation, about an hour of it, and that's what is available online if you watch the old video. But there is a much more detailed version of all of that coming. I think there's a bit of a chat breaching into the Bosie areas. Look, I'm not going to talk about it long. Nobody's heard from him. He keeps cancelling pink rooms. So nobody knows. Does anybody care? I think not. Or increasingly few people care. I know the organisation doesn't have a following much anymore, and that saddens me to a degree, but it is simply a matter for him and his executive team to come out and start talking to us, the people. It's very hard to be elected by the people if you want to not talk to the people anymore, unless you're going to be appointed. And that is the other school of thought. But how would the people feel about having the retired LC appointed to oversee Australia for, well, any period of time? I fear that could be a distraction as well. So, yeah. I think he's selling a lot of books in America at the moment. I don't know that he is actually speaking too much to too many people in America anymore, media-wise, I mean. Don't know. Couldn't tell you. Haven't followed or listened or watched or seen anything of him. So we'll just see. Doesn't really matter. I see that the Aussie Cossack and John Wilson have joined forces in some number of ways. Well, easy to see. Good commos stick together, I guess. The old commo and the one who wants to go to Russia. I haven't heard any more about his big offer to take the place of the Australian that was caught by the Russians fighting as a mercenary in Ukraine. And Simeon offered himself up as a hostage swap. Haven't heard any more, so not sure that's going ahead or not. I did hear John started the Freedom Union. Yep. Haven't heard any more about it, though. He doesn't want to come here and talk about it, so can't really help him. And I'm always a bit sussed on unions, just between you, me, and the gatepost. But I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with it. It's just not something I'm even remotely aware of. Hasn't come into my world. And despite reaching out on a number of occasions. So he has suffered from the suffering from the Bosie disease. And that is, they never talk to you again for whatever reason. They never tell you what that reason is, which I find a little bit weird. But we can live with it. So, lots of mansions burning in Los Angeles. Two fires still burning out of control at the moment. These fires appearing to be lit or started by all sorts of weird, strange things. In fact, I read a story only a couple of hours ago where in certainly one fire's case, they are putting it down to a relight of a fire that was started on New Year's Eve when some fireworks went off up into the hills and started a little fire. Fire brigade had to come out. They put the fire out. It was all good. 6 days later, these fireworks miraculously came back to life and started a fire around that sort of same area, supposedly. It's also interesting to note that 8 mansions owned by Ukrainian generals in Pacific Palisades have been burned to the ground. 8 and counting, I suggest, because the fire isn't done yet. Now, we were talking the other day with folks about the plan for Los Angeles and how it recovers after this. Can I tell you how it recovers? The plan has been written, and it was written a little while ago. Smart LA 2028. This is something that was written some years ago. And it outlines exactly how LA is going to become a smart city. And all those rich people up there in Pacific Palisades and many of the other areas, Bel Air is now on fire in certain parts. All this land, you watch, is going to change hands. This is, in fact, going to be the largest change of wealth in human history up until what we hope will be the release of Nassara Jassara. Because these land transfers, the money that's going to be paid via either people not waiting for the insurance sell out, they'll take the first lowball offer and sell and be gone, try and establish their lives somewhere else. Fire is a fairly traumatic thing. Even if you do manage to get away with it, losing everything leaves a fairly indelible mark. Speaking of losing everything, Will Rothschild was found dead after the fires went through the particular canyon, Leighton Canyon, I think it is, that he lived in. Yes, a Rothschild, the Rothschild family. Will, he was fairly old, fairly grumpy. All they found left of his mansion that he lived in at the top of a very steep hill was a very thin, very tall metal staircase that led to nowhere. And they found his body in there. Well, interestingly, they found his body in there within a few hours of the fire passing through. So whether or not he was, out on the lawn or was inside the house, I'm not quite sure. But at any rate, a Rothschild has died, and that house had tunnels from it leading to a number of different places, including downtown LA, Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive. It had tunnels to places like the Playboy Mansion, the Getty Museum, and other rather interesting places of note around Los Angeles. There are a number of houses, of course, up there that have tunnels coming from them, not just his, especially in Pacific Palisades and in Bel Air. Some people might be wondering whether or not there's fire going down those tunnels at the moment, or if not fire, what else? There is a school of thought. We're being asked to look here while the right hand is doing something else, the distraction being the fires. I'm not sure that is the case. Certainly if you live in that area, you're going through a bit of trauma at the moment. The fires are very real. However, will there be any real action to, well, how are they going to compensate people for this to begin with? Because there is clearly large areas of concern when it comes to responsibility. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, was offered a huge, unlimited amount of water in a pipeline already built coming down from Canada, and he knocked it back. So now it goes into the Pacific Ocean. Now there would be no water shortage, there would be no drought, there would be no problem with fire hydrants cracking and not being able to deliver a drop of water in an emergency situation. Had Gavin Newsom taken the deal Donald Trump offered while he was in office 4 years ago, and Trump is hanging Newsom out to dry, it remains to be seen whether or not the Californians are actually smart enough themselves to change government, I think would be the easiest way of describing that little thing. Here's something interesting for you to have a little look at. What do you think about that? Now, I know there's plenty of self-driving vehicles available these days, but on the roads, now around the docks, you'll find them being, self-driving, battery-operated vehicles, autonomous driving vehicles, if you like, working all the time. They're shifting containers, but they work, well, in a variety of different ways, but mainly they work by following an electronic track that's on the road for them. I'm not sure whether or not that vehicle has done that particularly or not, but it's a sign of the times, of things to come. Just imagine something twice the size of that towing containers around very easily indeed. It'll put a lot of truckies out of work. It is also possible that they might kill one or two of us, given that there seems to be some issues at the moment with electric vehicles. Now, Tesla just happened to be the one featured in this video, but I suspect any electric car maker will deliver a result similar to this one.
And you can clearly see this is off the chart where Julie's sitting. And right where she's putting her feet, it's almost off the chart as well. All around the vehicle where Julie's sitting is the same thing. It's right in front of her eyes. There you go, right there. Look at that. That's right where her head is. So she's basically sitting in a mobile phone. And this is terrible because nobody talks about this when they're buying it. All around, it drops down to 4, but right where the person's sitting it's the worst. The passenger side's not too bad. It hits it really high up here, right where your head is. It goes quite high, right where the head is of the person in the passenger vehicle. But the worst is the driver. The driver's in there. Imagine if you've got a chauffeur company and you're in it all day. All day you're in this. Look at it, just screaming where her feet are. And here, gone. This is where she's sitting. Now nobody's talking about this, and I can't understand why. We're going all on about the towers and all this stuff about this, and we're not talking about the cars. Look, it's gone. It's off the chart. She's not got any reading left. It's so high, it's off the chart. Anyway, we've got to start thinking seriously about boycotting these vehicles and having safety EMF testing on them, and children, how much they can be exposed to EMF to, and long-term EMF damage. Because if Julie's sitting this 2 hours, what's going to happen? I can't read this. The meter's not reading it. It's off the chart. How do we know what Julie's getting exposed to? How? How do we know? We don't know, because it's off the chart of the meter. This is terrible. That is not that's an appalling safety standard, because it's not a measurable read. I can't read what Julie's been exposed to. So we've got to develop another meter for these so-called environmentally friendly cars that are toxic to drive in. Anyway, thanks, Julie.
If you're driving an electric vehicle, I'd say you're getting your nuts cooked. And if you don't have nuts, it's whatever you've got left to get cooked is getting cooked. And if you have children sitting in the back seat, it's happening to them as well. Because the floors of these vehicles are usually where the batteries are stored. Because the batteries are very heavy, you want to keep the center of, or the weight as low as possible, so the center of gravity is as low as possible. And so the reading under the seat, beside the seat, you saw there off the scale, would be the same for front and back seats in an electric vehicle. Now, while, those of us of a certain age may not be too worried about having any more children, and what's it matter if I get my nuts irradiated? What if your son or your daughter, whose ovaries are facing the same kind of, whatever it is, being emitted through these electric vehicles directly into the reproductive systems? What happens going forward? Because those children today are going to be exposed to that electronic field for a lot more years than you and I are. And in 20 years' time, when they want to have children, your current 6-year-old, 10-year-old may not be able to, all because you wanted to get trendy and have an electric vehicle. I'd be very, very careful if you were going to go and buy anything like that, folks. It's very, very difficult. Now, Bali. We know there is a lot of shite that goes down in Bali. Be very careful if you're buying drinks. Obviously, we've had a couple of deaths there, and I think Thailand, the most recent deaths with alcohol that really wasn't alcohol, it was methanol. But aside from that, there's some beautiful beaches, I believe. I've never been there, have no interest. And a lot of people like to go and go swimming. However, there are those people who like to go and go swimming. And, we know that there are certain groups who particularly enjoy going out into the waves for the first time and needing to be rescued.
Good lad. Yeah.
Yep, just particular groups. Turns out the crocodiles in Bali have got a bit smart. Feeding time has become a little more scarce, I guess, with fewer tourists. So now they've got really clever. Yeah, frog lying on its back, putting its paws out of the water, acting like it's drowning. And from a distance, it would like a set of arms. What are you going to do? You're going to jump into the water and swim out there. Just one more reason not to go to Bali in my book. But I know there are a lot of people who enjoy it. So I think we've discussed my reasons for not ever wanting to go there, but I've not found a reason yet to be convinced. Do you have a smart meter in your house? Recent examples of smart meters in houses have been shown in Los Angeles to have mixed benefits.
I talked to the owner of this house right here in Pasadena. I talked to the owner. The owner does not have a smart meter on this house, on the front part of his house. There's no smart meter, no smart meter. So the house did not burn. The back house is the part of the house that had the smart meter, and everything in the back of his house is burnt. No smart meter, smart meter. No smart meter, nothing. Nothing's burned. Well, the trees, but the house state is perfectly fine. But the back house is completely gone, and that's the one with the smart meter.
I'll leave that one up to you. If you have a smart meter in your house, I'd be pretty wary next time there's a fire anywhere nearby. Just be careful. It may also explain why these blocks and rows and suburbs of houses all uniformly seem to have damage consistent with very high heat. Very, very high heat. Now, okay, California's in a drought at the moment. I understand that. But there is a lot of weird shit going on about those fires, folks. Stories about how they started to begin with. They found a fella supposedly in Pacific Palisades. He was on a push bike. He had a blowtorch and a number of fire starters. He had been reported as potentially a fire starter in a certain area. They caught him. They arrested him. He'll go and face some kind of trial, I'm sure. But looting now seems to be the biggest problem in these areas. And they've caught a guy dressed as a firefighter. They've had police or fake police, undercover agents. And it looks like certain more of the more wealthy who have still got property available or still standing in those areas are now hiring private security, and they are offering to pay firefighters privately to come and look after their homes and make sure that any blazes that might crop up after, like mopping up is done and done professionally. That's taking professional firefighters away from the actual fires, where I believe 2 of them are still raging out of control. And I think there are another 5 now that are, they're deeming under control at various different levels. So interesting times in dear old Los Angeles. Interesting to see so many stars losing property. I saw Jennifer Garner in an interview today, and she was explaining that her house was fine, but I think it was families. She had family who'd lost a place. She had a GoFundMe up for them. I would have thought she'd be able to help them out a bit. But there are a lot of celebrities now apparently getting out trying to help people who are displaced. And there is a great deal of displacement. Somewhere in the vicinity of 12,000 homes have now been destroyed. There's 200,000 people who are not sleeping in their own beds tonight. And they've all got to go somewhere. So it's interesting to see what will happen in Los Angeles in the coming days and weeks ahead. And Los Angeles, if ever there was a town that needed something like my place, that would be the place. Something that brings unity through community, brings people together, and helps bring local solutions to local issues. Unfortunately, not even in my place, Los Angeles, is going to be able to fix those dickheads on their roads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!